So why are we running this session here, or this Unconference session for you as part of BOSC? So the organisers, so that's myself there, but also Natasha Wood, who's down there, Dave, who we had standing up earlier, and Manny, who unfortunately can't make it here. So we're all enthusiasts of collaborative, empowering, community-building activities. That's stuff that we enjoy doing. We think it can have like really useful, exciting, high impact on our work and the work of others, so we're really into it. And we also believe and have seen and have felt and enjoyed the power of open source bioinformatics software. So where better to combine these things than a large community open source bioinformatics meeting, the kind of event we're at the moment. So if you've already forgotten the title, and I've got a really bad short-term memory, so I'm like very aware that people forget things really a lot. We're interested in exploring together with you what it is that makes open source bioinformatics communities a success, fun, yeah, working the way we would like them to be working. So what is a community? Let's just think very briefly about that first. So at the core of community are relationships and communication. So the relationships between the people that exist within the community and the way that they communicate with each other. And that's kind of our main aim with this session, is to try and promote building relationships and communication between people who have shared interests, goals, and values, which are those that are linked to open source software development. And we're going to do this by facilitating conversations between people who didn't meet before. So hopefully building some new relationships between people who share these interests, values, and goals, and also between people who've met before, so strengthening existing relationships. And I guess it's also strongly motivated. You're supposed to laugh when you see pictures of me, like with hair and no beard. So yeah, I just very strongly motivated to do these kinds of things by memories of myself coming to my first conferences back in the day, when I was just basically so scared of going up and talking to and meeting to and introducing myself to other more senior people, but also back then, because I was really shy, basically anyone, to try and give like some kind of artificial constructed context for people to meet new people, where we know that it's kind of awkward because we're forcing you together to, not forcing, but we're inviting you to do something a little bit unusual with each other, but hopefully that removes some of the barriers to getting, making those new relationships. So that's, and so yeah, for us, this would like be a success if some of you meet new people and you find that you like each other and those relationships are somehow useful for you professionally. That would be, for me, the thing I'm hoping most that we'll get out of this. So what is an unconference? So the idea is to try and flip common features of conferences, and in particular, we tend to focus on shifting the control from the presenter to the average participant. So in a typical conference, some people decide the program, some people decide the content, they pick people to give presentations, and most of the time one is spent consuming transmitted information. And the idea of what we're trying to do is to get you all who are in the audience, the participants, to have a lot more control over those kinds of things. Slightly scary and unnerving for the people who organize it, because I actually would love to be in control of everything and have the feeling that everything that works is a success. By doing this, we defer both control and responsibility of how well it works to everyone else in the room. So that's an important part of this. Incidentally, what we're going to do here could just be called a workshop, but we like to call it an unconference. Often these are done using something called open space technology processes, which you could read about on Wikipedia if you want. But we're not doing it like that for reasons that we can discuss later if you would like to. But one thing we do take from the open space technology process idea is something I think super important for this kind of event, and that is the law of 2 feet. So this was dreamed up by the guy who first developed open source technology. And the idea is that if at any time during an event like this, you find yourself in a situation where you're neither learning, not contributing to the discussion, then you use your 2 feet and you go somewhere else. So if you're sitting there and you're just finding it not really working for you, this is not a discussion that you're particularly enjoying, you find this process doesn't work for you, you don't enjoy it, then it's your responsibility to get up and go somewhere else. Maybe to another discussion, maybe you've had enough of the whole thing and it's time to leave. Because I've run sessions like this where people didn't do that, and then what happens is there's usually a group at the back who were just kind of going, this is kind of lame, and why can't they just do things differently and better like the way I like? I'm sorry that just assumed an American accent. I don't know. Maybe it was the guy who was doing it that one time. That was California. All right. So that's what we're trying to avoid there. So we take responsibility together to make the session work. And so to quickly summarize, our aims of the session are to help us meet new people and catch up with some old friends and colleagues, to make discussions about building successful bioinformatics open source communities happen. I think presumably everyone who's here considers those are interesting and useful discussions to have. Maybe we'll try and use the output of the session, particularly what we do tomorrow, to try and crowdsource some content for an opinion or guide article on this topic. And that's building on some sessions and publications that we had in the last year or so on that topic. I guess what we're particularly interested in here is looking at and extracting from you examples and anecdotes with advice that's specific to open source bioinformatics communities. You can see we published something last year on generically on successful bioinformatics communities. Oh, and then the final aim is we're supposed to enjoy this. Yeah, that's also important. So the first thing we're going to do, our first activity, the aim here is to relax us perhaps even more. Maybe we're already really relaxed. To set an informal, chatty mood, and to just start discussing communities together. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out from here, we're going to go into the lobby. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to organize yourselves in a line. And so this is the first sort of jokey, fun, it's supposed to be fun, I find it fun, question that you're going to ask you is to line yourselves up according to how many rainbows you saw in the last 5 years, whether you saw a lot or not very many. If you think you saw a lot, please move to the Guinness storehouse side of the building. So if you were to look out that way, you'll see a big Guinness building.
Do you mean real rainbows in the sky?
Yeah, real rainbows. I would say, the question is deliberately not super specific, because the point is you arrange yourself in this line, according to this, without talking to other people, and maybe you think you saw loads of rainbows, so you go all the way to that side. And then after about a minute, when people have stopped moving around, you turn to the people around you and you start talking to them about, what kind of rainbows, how many did you see? Whoa, I thought 100 was lots, but you've seen 1,000. So I guess I'll change my position. So it's, a trivial, fun way of getting us talking to each other is the idea there. So we do that. Can we do that with what, sorry? Ski trips. LSD trips. I'm just going to leave. I'm totally delegating responsibility for legal or illegal rainbows or whatever to the participants. That's your call. And the thing is then after we've done that, then we get a little bit more serious, and we'll ask you, what proportion of your time do you spend writing open source code? So then we'll try and rearrange ourselves, and that's another way of getting us talking to each other and rearranging ourselves as we explore that together. So we're going to do that for the next 10, 15 minutes. Chance to get us up, moving, talking, chatting, if you haven't been doing that already. So please follow me outside.